Okay, I'm going to start by thanking everybody for reviewing my submissions, and then got to make sure I join the right channel. System design. Yes. Okay, cool. So let's continue. Yesterday I submitted JS1 and we were able to look this up, and then that was for a friend. Now I'm going to... Oh, I didn't submit. Seems like... Or maybe I'm not logged in. Okay, cool. So this was submitted and then it was approved. So that was nice. Today I'm going to start this. Create a route commands that take in an input box and lets you execute commands directly on your server. Okay. So before this, I'm going to make sure that before that, I'm on the right branch. So Sunny at C0D3.com. So yesterday I had some issues, so I have to use my friend's server. And now I'm ready to start. So git checkout, well, first git status. I don't want stats.db, I don't want to commit it, so I'm going to delete the data. Git checkout p2, make sure I'm in sync with master, so git merge master. That brings all of the master's code into my p2 branch. Git branch. Git checkout p2. Okay. Git merge master. Okay, so that brings all of the master code into my p2 branch. Just now was a little bit weird. It gave me like a lot of errors, and that's because I was on a branch that didn't exist. I was on a folder that didn't exist. So I was in a folder called JS5, and P2 didn't have a folder called JS5. So when I check out to P2, I was in a weird state, so I couldn't merge. But now I have master. I'm going to create a file called JS5. Cool. 2.js. And then I'm going to make my code full screen so it's easy to see. And then I'm going to be running my server on a different terminal. So you can see I have 0. Like maybe it might be more helpful to rename server. And I'm going to name this one code. So let's start, but before we start, we actually need to know what we're building. So let's take a look at this. The security of our server only, oh, this is cool. So if I do a git status, wow, I can see the status of all of the files. So I can execute like ls. That should show me all of the files. If I want to see what's in the root folder, oh, nothing. Ooh, that's a lot of folders. Let's see if they have any pictures. Nope, no pictures. So basically, this is a website that lets people execute commands on their computer. That's pretty cool. Let's build that. So I am going to start with and then need to require the express library, cons app, and then run the express function. And then the server that runs my port should be 3057. Okay. When a request comes in, I am going to send hello. Okay. So let's see if this works. My website is C0D3 but I'm not running it yet, so I need to run it. Node2.js. Ooh. Save. It's not good. Oh, I named the file app.js. It should be 2.js, so let's remove 2.js and move app.js to 2.js. And now when I run it, it should be listening. So right now it's listening. Notice how this app doesn't stop. It's because it's listening for incoming request. So yeah, it's listening for incoming requests, right? So anybody in the world can access my website now. If you guys want to check it out, it is c0d3.com. Cool. I want to change this to you are awesome. If you refresh the page, it should say hello. And the reason why it's not reflecting is because every time I make a code change, I have to restart the server. And then I don't want to do that manually every time, so I can use an application called NodeMon to do it. Oh, it's not found, so I need to install NodeMon. I put the -G here because it's not for my project. I want to install it for my entire system. So now if I can run it. So now my website is back up, and now every time I make a code change, my website would be refreshed. So like if I go to c0d3.com, yeah, my website is up. So if anybody have any questions, let me know in the chat and I'll address it. Okay, so we are building this command line. So we need a title called commands. So let's send back some HTML. So h1. Okay. Nice. I got the commands going. I want to make this look a little bit prettier. So right now it looks kind of it doesn't look very pretty. So I want to add in a CSS file. So CSS new. There's a new CSS.net. I like this. This looks cool. To install it, I simply add this and I'm done. So I'm going to add this, my HTML. So before h1, I want to first load the CSS and then display the h1. CSS, if you don't remember, makes your website look good. Yeah, so now we have this like elite coding flair. Okay, so I need an input box and an h1 element. So let's do that. Input box, type text. Okay, and then HR element. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Cool, now I have this input box where the user can type stuff. And then when they hit enter, I want to send the request. So let me draw this out. On the browser, when the user hits the thing, submit, we send the request. So send request. And then what we want to do is in the body, we want a key called command. And then this would be a string, right? Let's call it ls or something. So then the server will execute, and then after it gets the result, send it back. Send it back to the browser. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. This guy we don't really need. Just delete all that. So this is a simple app conceptually. Usually during an interview, if I'm asked this question, I would just draw it out on the whiteboard. And since I don't have a whiteboard, I'm drawing it on this app called diagrams.net. It's free, that's why I love it, and you don't have to create an account. So the browser sends a request to server, the server executes the command and sends back a result, right? But then I want it to be a post request instead of a get because I'm sending data. Yeah. So let's do script tag. I actually really don't like sending back a string. It makes it so hard to like, yeah, it just makes it very difficult. So I'm going to use a middleware called express.static, and everything in this folder, which is the dot means current folder. So everything in the current folder I'm gonna send back. So let's create a file called index.html, and then I create each one like this, like commands. And then input box. So now it looks a little bit better. HR and script tag alert hello world. Okay, so this looks good, and to make sure it works, I'm going to go to 2.js, and I don't think I need any of this anymore because index.js automatically gets sent back when it goes to the root path. So let's test out my theory. If I go to this website, yeah, so it sends back my HTML. Index.html gets sent back by default. So I don't need anything here. Okay. So I'm gonna open my index.html and then document const my input, query selector, gonna get the input, key down. I think to get the value, I think it's e.key. So if e.key is enter, then what I'm going to do is send the request. But before I send the request, I need to know what I'm sending. So console.log input.value. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's delete that because it's annoying. So now I'm gonna inspect element here. Look at the console. If I type Sunny is awesome, hit enter. Okay, so whatever is in the input box gets logged, right? So that's good. Now we're going to send that as a request. So fetch to the same URL, API commands, and then it's going to be a post request, method post, and then headers. I'm going to be sending back JSON, so I need a, actually it's an object, so I don't even need this. Let's make this look more like JavaScript. But content type though, because it has a dash in it, I need to put it in quotes. Application JSON. Okay, so I send a post request, and with post request, I get to specify body. And body is a string, so json.stringify. And then the command is going to be input.value. Okay, let's see. Sunny.awesome. Let's look at the network requests. I'm going to clear it, make it clear. And I hit enter. It sends a request and it says 404 not found. Not found. But it's a post request. And then if I click on requests, but command is Sunny's awesome. So that's really cool. Now I can just go to the server side and take care of that. So app.post API commands request response. I'm gonna send back request.body so that I can see if my server is working. And since I'm using request.body, I need to tell Express how to understand my express.body. So I need to do a JSON here. If I do express.json, then the application will know how to parse out my body. Okay. So I don't even have to refresh the page. I can just hit enter again and it'll send another request. And this time, the response is what I sent back, which means my server properly received the request. Okay, so now console.log const command, destructure it, command equals request.body, and then now we need to send the command somewhere, right? We need to do something with the command. So use the exec function from Node's child process library. This helps you write file. Okay, so it just does that. Okay. Cool. So let's run this and see what happens. So when I receive the command, I'm gonna run the command. And then if I don't plan to use a variable, I need to put an underscore. So my text is just best practice. If you don't plan to use a variable, you put an underscore. But I'm not using this third one, so okay. So after I execute it, when it's done, it's important to run the st out when it's done. So send std out. So whatever I received from the command here, whenever the command executes and it's done, this function will run, and when this function runs, I send the response back. Okay, so let's go back to my file. See, I don't have to refresh it. I can just like ls. See what I got. Wow. \n means it's an empty space. It's a new line. So I got this. So if I do ls /, this shows me all of the files and folders. I can even create a file. So let's create a file. Touch. Hacked. You have been hacked. .html. So actually, touch creates a file, and then I'm creating a file called you have been hacked.html. So if you look at what it's doing is I'm sending a request called you have been create a file called you have been hacked.html, and the server runs the command. So now there should be a file on my server called you have been hacked.html. So let's look at the server, and then yeah, see, there's a file called you have been hacked.html. Right, so maybe I can even put something in there. So hack. So I'm gonna echo. Echo just means print. I'm gonna put that into you have been hacked.html. See if that works. Nice. See, now this file from the browser, I have this file. And then since my server has that file, that means you can go to you have been hacked.html. Yeah, so we have that. There is a question. It says, does the underscore do anything when your code is being compiled? And the answer to that is, oh, they want the URL. I should probably zoom this into you have been hacked. So now I can pretty much, so this is a really bad issue. In a server security standpoint, this is called the remote code execution. You don't want to build websites like this because if anybody in the world can go to your website and like run code, like run anything they want on your computer, then people can mess it up, right? They can delete everything. So for example, if I delete like this, if I type rm star, now all of my files would be deleted. And before anybody does that, I need to add adds ability to execute commands. Oh, this is a new computer, so I have to specify who I am. Okay, now I'm going to add a commit. So these files are committed, and check this out. Let's say I'm a hacker. I remove 2.js. Boom. Now my file is gone. I have no more server. So now if I want to restart my server, I won't be able to because I have no more, the file doesn't exist anymore. So now if somebody does that, now you no longer have a website, right? So just be careful. How do we get back our code? Since we committed our code with Git, we can get it back. So let's undo that delete. And now we have our file back. And our website is back. Okay, so don't do that. And just to protect our server, let's not execute everything. So if command dot includes rm, I don't want people to delete, so return res dot status. 400 status code means user input. It's not invalid, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable command. Okay. So this way, if I try to remove 2.js, oh no, commands is not defined. Command. See, 400 unacceptable command. So now, if someone tries to be smart, like ls and rm, it's still 400 because it has the word rm in it. So we're good now. We have protected our servers against like creating files. Okay. So now that we're sending back the file, all our server is done. So if you look at the diagram here, we're sending, our server executes the command and send back the result. The browser just needs to display it, right? So so we need a container. Here. Div class. Oh, I don't know if I addressed the previous question. Sorry about that. The question is, does this underscore do anything when the code is being run? So there's no compiling in JavaScript. So like I'm assuming it when it's being run. So when it runs, it's just a normal variable. It's like putting in a character A, you know, like it's just any string. So I see this is just a variable name, like underscore is just, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like E or A or error. It's just another character. So the answer is no. This doesn't affect the code running because it's just a variable. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. So after I send the request, then when I get the response back, I'm gonna return r dot. I cannot do JSON because if you look at the commands like ls, look at the command, this is not a JSON, this is a text. So I think I need to do .text. And then let me try console.log and see if it works. So now since I'm changing the HTML, I actually have to refresh the page. Okay, so .text works. And then once I get the data, I'm going to convert it into an array. So const lines equals data dot split by the new line. So okay, so whoa, what happened here? That's not good. Okay, I'm escaping n, so maybe I should escape n. Okay. Cool. So curriculum and a slash. So that's good. So now we need to create a container element. So container and then container dot inner HTML equals lines dot reduce accumulator, and then line. For each line, I'm going to return a paragraph tag, so P. I don't think P is a good idea, actually, and I don't think splitting it by new line is a good idea. And the reason is, if I want to print out code, like let's say I print out this file, for example, I don't want each of these to be a paragraph tag. That wouldn't make sense for me. So I think we could just do data. I think this is enough. And then instead of div class, because it'll look weird, I think pre is what we're going for. So here's the pre tag, it's empty. When I ls, it says curriculum. Oh, it has the \n. It's not good. So if I do cat JS5 app.or2.js, it would give me nothing. What's going on here? So let's look at the command. I got nothing. Oh, it's curriculum. Okay, so everything is in one file. It's not good. I want this whole thing to print out as is, but it's literally printing that. So maybe .text is not good enough. So fetch response. Let's see the different response types. Okay. Fetch would have .text, .json, .blob. We want blob. Text turns the response into a string, which is why you see this quote and like this \n. Don't want a string, we want a blob. So, aw, come on. I need to turn it into toString. Okay, how do you use a blob? Blob. Create a new blob, and then so blob is for files. Blob is for files like JSON. Blob is for file like images. Maybe array buffer. Let's try array buffer. It's an array buffer. So okay, that's not gonna work. We don't know what that is. So maybe I can Google it and see. Fetch response. unescaped string. So they're telling me to do .text. Hey, this looks good. Second option is to use .body. Okay. Maybe this would work, but I think that's too much work, so I'm just gonna leave this as is. Yeah. That's it. I think this is it. I am done. Let's see what data is. So I can click on it and then data is not a function. Oh, sorry. If I copy this and then paste it, A is that string. Maybe the string has from 1 to data.length. Maybe if I remove the first character, it still has a .n/n. So container dot okay, so basically it's supposed to look like that, but when I console.log a, I got this, but when I put it inside the pre inner HTML, for some reason I get this. I get this ugly junk. Huh. So I don't know why that is happening. Maybe it's because of this thing at the end. So data.length -2. And this. Okay, so I think it was escaped. It has an extra n. So, well, const convert dot replace. I want to replace all of that. Escape this and replace it with that. So I delete one of the unescaped characters. Oh, it still doesn't work. No. Okay. Should I give up? Let's see how the I give up. So let's see how they did it. So what they did is they converted to a JSON. What is output? They set the text instead of the HTML. Huh. They also used a pre-tag like me, so that was good. But they set the inner HTML, and is that what I was supposed to do? So let's see. No, that didn't seem to work. I think it has to do with my server-side code. I'm sending everything back as JSON. Oh. If I send it back as JSON, it needs to be an object. And that makes my life a lot easier. JSON, and then container.inner text is data.result. Okay. It's my pre-tag. I'm gonna hit enter. The whole file shows up. Yeah. So if I want to look at the HTML file, I do index.html, and it's here. So it's good. In the future files, in the future files, I think I would need to create index files as well. So I think it's better for me to not name my file called index. Okay, so a lot of people, so there is my folder now my computer has a lot of folders that I didn't create, so I have been hacked. Let's fix this. So there's a list of commands we don't want. If you look here, someone created a file and created a folder. We don't want them to create a folder either. So cons not allowed equals, so we have an array of allowed commands. So, or not allowed. Yeah, not allowed. Not allowed is rm make directory touch. So cons use is forbidden. So not allowed dot find. So I need to go through each of them. So reduce or dot find, because the first not allowed we find. Yeah, so return command includes the not allowed, and then if is forbidden, then we send the status. So now if I try to do like make directory hello, it should be not allowed. And then to make the HTML better, what we want to do is if r.status does not equals to 200, we want to alert, or is equal to 400, command not allowed. Okay. And pay attention to see how we always return JSON no matter what. So because of that, we should always return JSON no matter what. So here I'm not return JSON. So I should return JSON here. That way we can be consistent. Okay, and then after I set the data, I want the input.value. I need to clear the data, right? Okay, so now I'm ready to submit. I think this is pretty good. This command is not allowed. It's fine. And then I do ls the current folder. So all of this is here. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Okay. So this is it. And also, you can see this is a lot of .then. If you want to convert it to async, I'm just going to do that really quick so you guys can see how it's done. If command is enter, then you want to do const response await. I await for this to finish. And then this .then, R is really the .then. And then const data equals await. Or actually, instead of r.status is response.status alert. And then I do const data equals await res.json. And then now I have my data, I can do that. So if you want to convert to async await, your code will look like this. So to me, it looks a little cleaner, but to each our own, right? So I do ls dot. So everything still works using async and await. Not all browsers support async await, so be careful when using it on the front end. Okay, so my front end and back end is both done. I'm ready to submit. Now, git add to.js. So right now I have a lot of files here. And to do that, first I need to make sure I save the important ones. So git add to.js, git add index.html. And then, so I added these two files. Now commit solves problem 2 of JS5. Okay, so now I have all these files. Oh, what happened here? Okay, so someone is messing around with the git commands now. I can do git status on the website and it will show the git status. Okay. So I'm going to delete this before anybody does a git checkout. And then codes login. So npm i-g. It's a new computer, so I have to re-add it. Okay. Actually, I don't want git to be a command either, because what if someone did like git check out a different branch, you know, then I'll be confused. And see, all the files are gone. If you do a git, if you remove all of the files, what I was gonna do is remove and check out, but think we're all good now. Removes git, or this change adds git as a forbidden command. Okay. Before I let's see what. Did I accidentally commit those folders? So I need to remove that. Remove that. Okay, so this is clean now. I'm gonna make a folder called JS2 and then move to the challenge 2. And the reason why I'm moving everything into challenge 2 is because my later problem, the reason why I'm moving everything into challenge 2 is because in my later problems, I might have other files. Other files that's also named index.html, and they'll conflict with each other. Moves into challenge 2 folder. Okay. I'm gonna submit. Oh. And to install code. Okay. It's not good. It's using the old code. So npm remove the old code. That's annoying. So basically the issue I'm having is the code I'm trying to download is in version 2, but the one npm is using right now is version 1.4.2. So to figure out where this file is, you can type which, and it's in here. So let me go to this folder. So going to remove code from there, and then okay, so there's another one in user bin. Let's so this folder right here is different from the one I removed. So maybe now when I install code, it will use the right one. Let's see. Oh, so I think user bin code is always the default one. So now I will have trouble submitting. But the good news is I can run this file directly. Login. logged in. Curriculum. And then now, instead of login, submit. Problem 2. Alright, so done with this. Close these two. I don't need child process. And I am done, and this challenge 2 looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now next is meme-gen. Okay, so I need to create a website that generates a meme. Sample image below. What is this? What is that? View image. Okay, so I need to create a URL called ImageGen API and then a text. And the text, do I need to paste in category? Let's see. Blur, source, and black. Okay. Alright, so that seems pretty straightforward, and then make sure to set content type. Alright, let's start this challenge. Git checkout p3. Git merge master to make sure everything in master is in my branch. And then create JS5. Oh, it already exists. That's cool. What's JS2? I think I created JS2 just now and I forgot to delete it, but it's all good. So create 3. So app.cons express equals, I'm going to require the express library and then use that, run that library to create app, and then listen to my port, which is going to be 3057. And then it also takes in a callback, so console.log server running visit https cerny.com. So I'm just add a little logging for myself. Oops. So now I'm gonna run 3.js. Cannot find module express. That's so sad. Let's install express. Okay, so server running visit cerny.com, but if I go to cerny.com, there should be nothing here. So I need to create a URL called API and then write some text here. So app.get this URL and then text request and response, and then rest.send. I'm gonna send back something saying hello, you said, and then rec.params.text. Okay, so now if you go to the website and you type cerny.com/imagegen, oh I forgot, API hello world, no, that doesn't work. Meme gen. Meme gen. Okay. I'll send that URL to you guys. So now you can write whatever you want and it would show up. So we got that part. Okay. Now all the setup is done. Let's talk about how you would do it. The browser sends a request to server, but now there is no body or anything. Everything is in the request. Right, so the request will have params, like something like slash hello world, and after that they would put black equals true to have black text, I think. Black source and URL, so and source equals URL and blur equals like 10. So in the request that they sent out, it will look like that. And then the server is going to check the cache. So the cache would have URL plus blur plus text plus black, all of the values, and then image data. Because it takes a long time to create an image, so hit to see if it's in the cache. And if it is not in the cache, what would happen is it would create the image. It would then come and it'll use GIMP to create image. And then after it creates the image, it would send the image back. So GIMP would create the image. It would set it to the cache, and then the cache would send it back. So to the server checks the cache, and then if it's not, create an image and send it back. So that's how we're going to build this app. Yeah, so we got this part done, so that's good. And then now we have to build the cache. So because each image is pretty big, we can't do the image data directly. We need a count. Like count. So every time you should have a count to see how many times it was visited. And then the let me see. For the cache, does it say we need a cache? Cache the last 10 images in memory. Okay, so yeah, we need a cache to see last 10 images searched. So we just want, we don't want the most frequently searched. We want the last 10. So basically we just do searched at. And this is a timestamp. And then image data is just going to data. Okay, so I'm gonna send the cache and then send it back. So now I create a variable called cache data. It's gonna be an object. And then const key equals rect.body, no, rect.params.text, and rect.const query dot black, and then rec dot query black source. We need a source. Text blur source. So this rec.query.source, it's really long, so let me just do this. Black source blur is equal to rec.query to destructure, and then black source blur. So that's the key. If key cons cached image or cached data equals image cache at index key, and then if doesn't exist, or if it exists, what we'll do is return rest.send the, let's do if it doesn't exist. Okay, if it doesn't exist, which is the first time we send it, we need to create the image, and so we use the GIMP library. Let's see how we use the GIMP library. Okay, we need to require GIMP. This. So I required a new library. That means I have to install it. So npm install. I want to save it. GIMP. This downloads somebody else's library for you. Oh, why did I call it jump? GIMP. Alright, now we can run it, and it runs, yay. So now I have GIMP installed. I need to open a file, but I think I can open a URL also. GIMP.read. Does GIMP return a promise? Hey, it does return a promise. So const URL equals source, or sometimes people don't pass in a source. It's optional, like it says here. If no URL is provided, use that. So I'm gonna use that. And then this would be URL. And then I'm going to load the data from the URL. And async await is easier for me to write, so I'm gonna do, actually let's not do async await, let's just do it like, actually yeah, let's do async await. So I'm gonna read the URL, const image equals, I'm gonna read, and then I'm going to, let's see, GIMP.read takes in a URL and returns a promise. You get an image object. Image object.print, and then the text you want to write. And then, so let's try the .print. So I'm going to do image.print what the user typed in. So rec.params.text. Let's create a variable for this. So it's easier to maintain. So I print into the text, and then what do I do? Get buffer. Okay, so this would give me a buffer. Let's not do any of that. Buffer equals .get buffer. So buffer is the result of the string. And after I get the buffer, what do I want to do? Return res.send. Send back the buffer. And then make sure I set the content type header. So res.set this header. So the response I'm sending back is going to be an image. So let's see if that works. Put in some text. And then it's taking a long time. I'm not getting a response back. So let's see what happened on the server. Image.print is not a function. So img.print didn't work. Ooh, it's because image is a promise. And to wait for it to finish. Sends a request, no response. So something else must be wrong. Font must be a GIMP load font. So let's see. I need to load the font. So before I send back, I need to load the font. And what do I pass in? White or black. So font equals, if it's black, then I'm going to use black. Otherwise, I use that JIMP dot. Then I'm going to load the font. Okay, so now the font is loaded. Then I print it. So still seems like it's not working, so let's look at the next bug. Font must be a GIMP load font. So what did I pass? What did I do? Thought that was a GIMP load font. Print takes in a font. Oh, I'm using the print wrong. Takes in a font object. So I need to do const GIMP font equals that. And then when I print font, GIMP font, and the starting of the text, oh, it says here for me. Number, let's do 10. 10. Alright. Now let's try it. Still no image. MIME must be a string. What is MIME? Let's look here. Get buffer. Oh, takes in a file type, so I need to pass in a file type. Okay. Because I'm too impatient. Now when it loads, oh, still not working. This one came from callback, must be a function. What? So this doesn't take in. I thought this returns a promise. It returns a promise. So maybe I print it, and then I await get buffer like that. So I print it, and then I get the buffer. CB must be a function. So maybe there is an error, but let's say we have no buffer. Let's say we just did that. Do we have an error? We don't have an error. So we get a response. So now we can conclude that it's this buffer, this line that's giving us problem. So let's figure out what's happening with get buffer. Okay, I need to run get buffer async because that returns a promise. So sometimes at work, you just get that information. It's just fact of life. So let's try this one. And oh no, oh wow. So we got the text and then we got the image. So, but notice how it took a long time for it to load, right? It took a long time for it to load. So if you guys want to try it out, I'll send you the URL. So now we have that. After we get the buffer, we put saved at date.now, and then data is the buffer itself. So I saved the image. And then we always send that. And then instead of let buffer equals, so we default this to an empty object, cache data.data. And then if there is no buffer, that means there's no data, I'm going to do that and send back the response. So this makes sense to me and I think it works with the caching. So the first time I refresh, it's slow. Look at how slow it is. It's so slow. But then if I refresh again, it's almost instant. Wow, so cool. Okay. So now I need to set the black property to figure out which font to load. So this is a wait, so it takes a long time. So I'm going to load it when the page starts. Const black font equals I'm going to load and then white font I'm going to load that white. So this way, when the app loads, const start app. Since it's await, I need an async function. So async function, and then it loads the font, and then it sets the get call, and then it put the image cache out here. Okay, so, and then start app is never called. So once I start listening, then I call start app. Okay. So I wait for the black and the white font to load, but I don't have to load this both at like one after another. They should be loading at the same time. So black font, white font equals wait promise.all. I run an array together. So now these two loads when the app starts, and now every time someone sends a request, I'm going to figure out which font to use. So font equals, if the user specified black, I'm gonna use the black font. Otherwise, I'm gonna use the white font. If you guys are not familiar with this question mark colon sign, this is pretty much saying let font equals black font or white font. And then if black, then font equals black font. It's the same thing as saying that, but yeah, let's just leave it like that. So after we get the font, we are going to read the URL, and then we're going to print the font into the image with the text, and then we're going to set the opacity, so, or the blur. Let's look at the last part on how to set the blur. Blur. Okay. Image.blur. So after I print, I set the blur to the user provided blur number. I need to convert this to a number because this is always going to be a string, or no blur. By default, we don't put in any blur. So now I'm going to refresh. It's gonna take a while for the image to load, or maybe there's a bug in my code. Oh. R must be greater than 0. So now the page works. I'm gonna do hello world. Does that work? Hello world. This looks a little blurred. I don't think we want to blur it. And also the text doesn't look sharp. The text looks blurred. So let's make blur equals 3. Yeah, so this text is really blurred. We don't want that. So after I read the URL, then if blur exists, then we're going to do blur it, image.blur. So I blur the image first, and then I print my text on there. It's telling me I don't need it because print doesn't return a promise. Okay, so now, let's see. Now when I refresh the page, the background is blurred, but my text is sharp. Cool. And then if I want to pick a meme, let's find a meme, or I like this picture. So, oh, but this one has pictures. I want to find a picture where I can write my own text, like this guy. So copy image location. So now I can set the blur to 3, and I'm gonna put in a source to the image I just found. So this guy, yeah, so see how I created this. So now I can put this in any HTML file as an image. And the text is white, so let me try the black functionality. Black true. Yeah, so now the black also works. And I'm gonna take out the blur. Source. And if you guys want to check out this image yourself, let me post this into the stream. So now our caching works. Everything seems to work. I just tested all the blur functionalities. And can I submit now? All this works. Except for the cache. The last 10 images searched in memory. So saved at date.now. So last 10. Okay, so basically the last 10, that means let's go here. I need a job. Like, let's do a curve. Oh, what is going on? Okay. So to set the last 10, what I need to do is, how do I move this? So on the server, every 10 minutes, clear I need to clear the cache. So by clear the cache, meaning like remove cache the last 10. Remove images. Okay, every 10 minutes I would remove old images. So how would the caching work? I need a helper function on clear cache equals a function. So what the cache would do, what this clear cache would do is it would set a timeout of 10 minutes, which is 10 minutes has 10 minutes. Each minute has 60 seconds. Each second has 1000 milliseconds. So every 10 milliseconds, what do? I would go through the cache, sort it, and then the last, I would just pick the 10. right? So what's the requirement say? Cache the last 10 images. So last 10 images. So I would sort it by 10. I will sort it from the oldest one to the youngest one. So I'll sort the time from the oldest to the youngest, or the most recent to the least recent, and then for each of the 10, I'll just go through the 10 and keep that in the cache. Or I should start from the 10th all the way to the end. I think that's better. So let's recap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the end. I'm going to sort the entire keys by the last time it was accessed, the most recent time, and then from the 10th all the way to the end, I'm going to delete it from the cache. So object.keys of image cache. So this gives me an array of keys, and then I'm going to sort it. Sort takes in a function, and then return A is the first one. A goes in front if A dot saved at is greater than B dot saved at. So for A minus. So then A is bigger, so A should be at the top. Let's make sure I understand sort correctly. So if you have an array function, 925.sort A comma B, I return A minus B. So this would be from smallest to biggest. Ooh. A minus B is smallest to biggest. So I want the biggest to the smallest. So I'm gonna run the biggest to the smallest, and then after that I do dot slice from 10 to the end of the specified portion of the array. This is, so I start at index 10 and I go all the way to the end. Let's see if slice works the way expected to. So if I slice 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So if I do slice 3, it would actually give me the remaining elements. So I want to slice 10. And then after I slice 10, it gives me the remaining. And then for each key, for each of the one that's not in the array, I would delete the index key. So console.log image cache. And then after I clear the cache, so let's comment this, purging the cache of old images. And then after I do that, I call clear cache again. So clear cache would run. But since I'm testing it, I'm just gonna do 1 minute. Maybe 30 seconds. Let's do, or 1 minute. We can wait a minute. Okay, and then when the app starts, I'm going to run clear cache. And then console.log clearing cache. And then I want to see how many objects it started with. So this is for debugging. So first element is object.keys of image cache at index 0. So I want to get the first element or the first key, and then console.log the first element. Okay, and see if this changes. And then I clear cache. So let's see. Let's check this out. My server started. I am going to do blur equals 2. That's the first image, second image, third image, fourth image. Oops, I meant blur. I'm typing it wrong. 8, 9, 12, 13. I'm trying to create like a bunch of images. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's still waiting. So the blur image 2. Oh. So clearing cache is saved at. So it console.logged a lot of things. And this is clearing cache again. And this clearing cache again. And this clearing cache again. That's not 1 minute. Oh no! I clear the cache when I send the request. No. I want to clear the cache when I start the app. Okay. So now I have to start over. Blur equals 1. Blur equals 2. Blur equals 3. Blur equals 4. Blur equals 5. 6. Wow. These images are loading pretty quickly. So I have 14. I shouldn't have console.logged image cache, because it would have logged 14 things. I should have cleared console.log the first key. Oh, regrets. Okay, so it saved 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, undefined, 2, 1, 14. What is all this? Oh, so it prints out a lot of times because I am console.logging in the for each. I should console.log it after the for each. So let's console.log the image cache here. Okay, now I have to check it again. I'm just continuously changing the blur, and by specifying the numbers, it helps me see what in the cache is removed. So I'm gonna create 16 different blurs, maybe 17. And now when this runs, I expect the cache to only have from 7, 8, 9, 10 all the way to 17, or 8. It starts with 8. Okay, so it actually gave me the first 10, which means it should be a.saveThat minus b.saveThat. I should sort it in reverse order and then delete them. Okay, cool. So let's change this to 10 minutes. I'm done with this problem. Let's see. What did my package JSON change? I added express and GIMP. Okay. Okay, and then git add current folder, git commit -n solves problem 3 of JS5. Okay. Oops. So I have to use this. Path equals, so let me try to fix it. Path, and then after path I have that, so which code? Nice. Fixed it. Code submit. JS5 problem 3. Okay, cool. So let's make sure I'm going to close this. I don't need this anymore. Wow, it's already approved. So JS3. So since these 3 is already approved, I'm gonna start bringing them into my master branch. So git merge p1, git merge p2, then git merge p3. Nice. Now I'm going to go to start p4, make sure my all the code in master is in p4 branch. Nice. Cool. I'm removing JS2. Okay, 1 challenge to 2, 3, so I'm gonna have to do challenge 4. Okay, so before we start, let's look at what problem 4 does. So I need to /API files to create a file, get an array of all the files and then send a request to get the content of the file name. Okay, demo link. Okay. So I put the file name, I put the code in here. So this guy created one. Let's look at this. Select the HTML. Okay. So he clicks on the file. I click on the file. I should see this, the file. What if I change it? If I change his file. And then I click this to save. Okay, so I click this to view the file. Oh, it showed up. Cool. So this lets you write code, but it also lets you take notes too, because it's just files like hey.js. That's nothing in there. Okay. So in here, I'll send the request to the server. And the server doesn't have the server would store. We don't need any cache to yeah, we don't need any cache, and we don't need to use external API. So this one is gone. And we don't need a cache. Maybe we do. Let's add a cache. So like the cache would be file name. And then the result would be data. File data. So that way, files can load really fast. Otherwise, if the file is not in there, the server would get the file from the system using fs.readFile. That's to read a file, and then we also need fs.reader to read the folder. And why do we need to read the folder? Is because we want to show all of the files here. And then we need, when we hit save, we need fs.write file. So when we hit save, we need fs.write file. Okay, so it seems pretty straightforward. I'll start with the server first. So touch app.js, no, touch4.js. And I need a place to store all the files. So I'm gonna store all of the files in a folder called public. So yeah. So I'm gonna have a folder called public. So cons express require the express library. And then app.use. I need to make the public folder accessible to everybody, so express.static public folder, and then app.listen to what? 3057. Okay. Console.log listening on port 3057 or incoming request. Okay, so now I am going to challenge 4 node mon 4 app is not defined. Oh, app equals run the express function to get app. Okay, now if I go to Cerny, .com. There's nothing there, which makes sense because there's nothing here. But what if I put index.html in the public folder? So, and I put in an input box, put in an h1 element, file editor. File editor and an input box. So now if I refresh the page, it'll say file editor and an input box. That's good. Let's say someone created a file called hello.html. And then they said hello. Question is, why does a minus b sort in reverse while a minus b sort from low to high? Sorting function. But before we do that, I'm create another file called hello.html, and if you go to hello.html, it says hello. So what I'm going to do is separate the URL. Yeah, so hello.html. The question is, why does a minus b sort in reverse? So that's a sorting function. Let's go over it. So 9823 dot sort a b. Return a minus b. So let's console.log what's going on. So a is, b is, okay. So what it's doing is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what's interesting? There are 4 elements, but the sort function is calling a function 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So your function is being run more than the number of times, more than the elements in the array. So it compares a and b first, and a is bigger, right? So a minus b, it determines who is bigger. So if you return a minus b, then, and this is positive number, that means a is bigger, so a goes to the end. So then if you do b minus a, it only does it 4 times. That's cool. So the first time a minus b, a is bigger, so it goes in the end. A minus 2, a is, or a minus b, b is smaller, and then it checks against 2, 2 is smaller. So now it found 2 numbers, right? 8 and 2, that's smaller than 9. So it compares 8 and 2 to see which is smaller. And 2 is smaller. So 2 it puts here, and then 8, and then, yeah. So I don't exactly know what goes on because sort is very efficient. If you see here, like if I sort it over here, this function gets run 6 times. And if I, sort it in reverse order, it only gets run 4 times. So there's a lot of magic. But what you have to know is a minus b. If you take the a minus b, you get it in ascending order. And then b minus a, you get it in descending order. Okay? Cool. Good questions. Today, let's see, we only got through 2 problems. And then we'll continue tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow at the same time.